preparing the live stream and
All right. I really appreciate all of your moments of patience, because we are doing new things. We have been doing new things and we keep on doing new things. We are now live, and we are live on Zoom, and we are about to be live on YouTube as well. There are so many ways to join us on Sundays. And hopefully next week will be even better. We're going to have a webcam with an inbuilt mic. Right now we've got a wide angle for when you all sing, when we light the pulpit. We've got our up close pulpit for now, but this will not be in all of your way. You'll actually be able to see people's faces because we'll put that up here. So to get started, I just want to say welcome to the First UU Church of Indiana, Pennsylvania, which is doing new and different and multi-platform worship from here on out. And it is a pleasure to be with you all back in this sanctuary. If you're on Zoom, go ahead and make sure that your microphone is muted. If you're here in person, you know how to mute and unmute your voices. So I'm going to invite you to unmute your voices, stand up, and we're going to sing along to our Prelude Hymn, which is number 347, Gather the Spirit. And the words will be in your gray hymnal. It's number 347. And we might take just a moment to wait for music to go with that.
Now
gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit, flowing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again.
Welcome. I'm Juanita Burdett, a member of the worship team today, and I'm glad to be here with you. On behalf of the entire congregation, thank you for being here, whether in person, in Zoom, or via YouTube. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome, and please fill out a blue visitor sheet at the welcome table. We'll make sure you're personally welcomed and added to our weekly newsletter mailing list. If you're joining online, send an email to office@firstuu-indianapa.org to join our newsletter mailing list. On Zoom, you'll see the chat button below the video screen. We use that feature for our greetings, chalice lightings, and for joys and sorrows during the service. The First Unitarian Universalist Church of Indiana is a member congregation of the United Universalist Association. We are a self-governing congregation united in a web of mutuality that creates the right and responsibility to discern and follow our own paths. We come here together to support and assist each other on our journeys and to build our beloved community together. I invite you to stay after the service to greet one another and rejoice in our mutual presence. We will open up the microphones on Zoom for coffee hour, and folks here in person, you will be welcome to come up and greet those joining us electronically. Some special announcements. Please join us next week, September 12th, for our in-gathering worship and water communion. The celebration of the water communion is an annual rite of regathering ourselves from travel, time of leisure, and changed rituals of summer. We encourage you to bring water from a place that has been special and meaningful to you for the year. Our religious exploration classes will kick off the first Sunday in October. Penny is still looking for volunteers, teachers, and assistants for the classroom and nursery. Please see Penny after the service if you're interested in helping. After worship on September 12th, we will have a town hall meeting to further clarify what the search process means for our congregation in the coming year. If you have questions or want to hear more about the process, please come and be in conversation with our board next Sunday. And now I invite you to take a gentle breath and settle yourself into a spirit of worship.
The Reverend Gretchen Haley writes, "Whatever you have come in anticipating, whatever you expect or worry for our world, for the future, for our lives, let it go. Make space in your heart to be surprised. Make room in your soul for a new story to take shape. Let astonishment be possible at this life that remains a miracle. Imagine here the bursting of joy, relentless and resilient, coming in waves, washing over us with music and story and silence. And still this dreaming together, being hope for each other and courage to believe in this new day that's dawning for us all. Come, let us worship together.
And now, let us light our chalice flame. On Zoom, you may type "the flame is lit" and where you are, and say where you are joining us from at the chat bar. We pause this morning from the chaos of the world to reclaim the beauty within these walls that carries us throughout our week. We lift up this community onto our shoulders with pride and grace-filled expectations for our children and our children's children. This is our holy work, and thus we light our chalice. Will you now rise in body and spirit and join me in singing the "Just as Long as I Have Breath," number 6 in the great hymnal.
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous. All right, so with thanks for our impromptu musician, Dave Ferguson, who will play the next hymn. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. With grace, with If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to true. Just as long as my heart beats, my questions are yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love. So at this time, we are going to share in a backpack blessing. So I invite all who this year are learners, whether you're starting preschool or graduate school, whether you're learning in an academic classroom or learning a trade through apprenticeship. If you're beginning a year of schooling and would like to be blessed on your way, this moment is for you. So if you brought a backpack or a bag, you can pick that up now and hold it in your hands. If you brought something else that's a school supply, or if you just have yourself here, you can just focus on that. Touch your hands to what you are bringing as a representation of your learning experience. And if you're with your family or others in your pod, can those who are supporting learners picture, oh, go ahead and reach out a hand. You might touch their backpack as well, or a shoulder. Imagine your loving support flowing through your hands into these learners as energy. And picture all you learners, your backpack and your people, giving you strength, offering resources as part of this network that holds you all connected like a shining web.
Now, it's all of the RE volunteers and teachers, leaders, members, visitors, and friends who make learning journeys of our children and youth and all in this conversation possible. Can you bring your hands up and help to form the circle of the blessing?
And now, Penny, if you can bring the basket and hold it, and I'll add my hand as we bless these charms. These charms are a symbol of our faith and a carrier of all the love that is in this room and all that is beyond it in all our networks of people on this Sunday. Right. Blessed Spirit of creation and creativity and learning and love, Spirit who is ever changing, ever growing with us, ever teaching us all that there is to know. Be with us now. I can hold it.
As we join our hearts together, may we bring our best to this time. Our congregation's mission asks us to inspire, care, and act. May we bring to our learners' faces our inspiration and creativity, our caring, loving hearts, and our helping hands to act in the world.
So will you all, learners, supporters, beloved congregation, join with me in bringing that blessing of inspiration, caring, and action into these backpack charms. So if you are ready, please repeat after me. We bless you with inspiration.
We bless you with inspiration.
We bless you with caring.
We bless you with caring.
We bless you with a commitment to act.
We bless you with a commitment to act.
We bless these charms.
We bless these charms.
And we bless these learners.
And we bless these learners.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
And now, learners, if you'd like to come up and get a backpack charm, we ask that you do that and then return to your seat. We invite everyone to pass time of peace with one another, and especially to anyone you haven't met before or haven't seen recently. On Zoom, you may type a blessing in the chat bar for one another, and for our learners. I just want to say that the charms say be kind, and this means to be kind to others and be kind to yourself. This is one of our principles, right? So go ahead and come up. And I know we have several learners that aren't here. If there are families here, you can come forward, your children. And then they will also be available next week. I know it's a holiday weekend, so there's many out today. If you'll all pass the sign of peace with each other.
And peace be with you, all who are on Zoom. And though we could spend all of our days with one another in community, I invite you now to come back to your seats and go ahead and bring your focus forward for our centering words.
Our centering words come to us from Jenny Smith. We just ran a marathon. In March of 2020, we closed our doors to in-person worship. We figured out online worship, maybe, kind of. We felt the brunt of unprocessed grief in our communities. We tried to continue as many ministries as we could sustain. We dreamed up new ones. We crashed and burned. We wondered if giving would continue. We ached with isolation. We spoke of hope and grace and possibility. We agonized over the safest way to return to in-person gatherings. We took a few days off here and there, trying to find solid ground to rest on. We smiled on camera as if we could stir our hearts to life with our own pleading. We received grace and stunning kindness from people in our communities. We watched colleagues look like they had it together, but we guessed that they didn't either. Then we opened our doors to in-person worship again. We crossed the finish line. We made it. We did a hard thing. Then, instead of collapsing at the finish line in a heap, instead of drinking water, instead of resting our aching bodies, something else happened. An official-looking race organizer slapped another number on our back and pushed us toward another starting line that mysteriously appeared. Wait, what? A second marathon right now? We looked down at our blistered, aching feet, our hopeful but exhausted heart, our overwhelmed but determined mind, and we take a step forward into life as a gathered community once again. Why? Because it is our world, because it is our world who doesn't know how to stop unless a global virus shuts the world down. White supremacy pushes onward. Coerces and manipulates into productivity and the rest of the results. Consumerism causes people to demand their preferences and tired pastors to oblige. Capitalism relies on resisting rest and driving our bodies for the bottom line. These forces celebrate when we ignore what our souls whisper. I don't have a magic step for my next community today. 6 month sabbaticals for all would be a good place to start. But I do know this. As the years of life in our faith communities, as the years come to life, in our faith communities, we have the opportunity to tell the truth, to slow the pace, and question everything as we enter the new normal. Yes, our second marathon has begun, ready or not. Problem is our bodies are still recovering from the first marathon. Maybe the answer is to stop running in the second race. What if we looked at each other and gently nodded, slowed our forced jog, and started walking together? What if we walked our second marathon, side by side, no racing, no competing with anything or anyone, resting when it's time to rest, saying yes to a new idea when it glistens with possibility, saying no to something when it feels too heavy, asking new questions in places we assume the old answer, giving others permission to rest because we choose to rest, questioning the speed at which we live and move, loving our people with beautiful, bountiful boundaries in place, taking a nap, breathing deeply of God's grace and love and restoration. Maybe this is how we choose to disrupt the deeply ingrained oppressive realities of our world. We choose to walk together. Here's to the second marathon. I'm with you, friends. I'll be over in the slow walkers crew that laughs and takes a lot of breaks and rolls and rides and trades piggyback rides when we need them. Want to join me? I imagine love will surprise us again. Grace upon grace. Our centering music is one more step. If you choose, you may sing or hum along or simply spend this time in contemplation. During centering music, baskets will be passed to collect your joys and sorrows cards if you have something to share with the congregation.
We will take one more step. Since the merger between Unitarians and Universalists in 1961, the UU denomination has stood out from other churches by its emphasis on the importance of the individual. This goes beyond respect for the inherent worth and dignity of each person. It's about exercising one's right of conscience and participating in the democratic process. It's about our interdependent web made up of individuals working together for a brighter future. For this reason, the UUA does not function as a hierarchical structure handing down edicts and ruling from afar. We are a network of independently governed congregations making our own choices. The UUA is there to support us and to offer guidance as we make our way along our church's path. Some of us have important questions about the ministerial search process and the role of the UUA in this pursuit. The very first thing your search team will search for is your input as individuals with distinct viewpoints and questions. There will be a congregational survey to ask what is your vision for this congregation and what you want from ministry. There will be cottage meetings to learn more of your thoughts on our specific questions and your issues. The search process is designed to gather your input first before we can submit any of our information to the UUA ministry search system. But some of you have some immediate questions and concerns about this quest before we begin. On Sunday, September 12th at 11:45 a.m., we will hold a town hall meeting both in person and on Zoom. The Board of Trustees wants to share with you information about the ministerial search process and to give you an opportunity to ask questions and gain a clearer understanding of the process. It is important to the board to be open and forthcoming. So please join us in Brower Social Hall or on Zoom after worship service next week. We want everyone to have a chance to be heard, so plan to stay a couple of hours. Let's all build a shared understanding of where we are and where we can go from here. And now, let us speak together our UU principles in unison. I don't have the kids' version.
Ah. Yes, that would be fabulous. So our UU principles today, we're using the kids version, which has clearer language. And I invite you to pull that out of your order of service and let's speak together.
It's in the hymnal.
Oh, or in the front of your hymnal, even better.
You have it on here?
Oh, it should be in its own
Oh, okay.
document. So for those of you on Zoom, it will be in the chat. We believe that each and every person is important. We believe that all people should be treated fairly and kindly. We believe that we should accept one another and keep on learning together. We believe that each person must be free to search for what is true and right in life. We believe that all people should have a voice as for things that concern them. We believe in working for a peaceful, fair, and free world. We believe in caring for our planet Earth, the home we share with all living things. And now we come to that time we set aside each Sunday to share together in community the joys, the sorrows, the mixed blessings of our lives. So let us join hearts and minds together in a spirit of prayer. Spirit of life and of love, we gather together, sharing in community the milestones of our living. We share Josiah's joy that his best friend Regina is visiting for the weekend. We share Pauline's joy that it is so good to be back in church. I know many will agree with that. We share joy and excitement and trepidation and concern about being back to school for all the many reasons that all those emotions exist. And as we look to our wider world, we have sorrow, and we remember those affected by fire and floods and natural disasters, as well as by warfare. And yet we balance that with the knowledge that there are many good things happening in the world that sometimes we must seek to find. We hold in our hearts those in Texas for whom abortion is made harder and more challenging to access. We hold concern and yet also hope for all those refugees from Afghanistan who are coming to the US in need of support. We hold the hope that our UU congregation and many others across the country will have an opportunity to help. For all these things, for the blessings of our lives, may we hold space in our hearts. May we hold gratitude for the beauty of the earth and the ever-changing seasons and the flowing gift of life. In times of fragile hearts and of tender sorrows, may we find comfort and strength, and may our hearts be healed, and may we find peace. Amen and blessed be.
At the First UU Church of Indiana, we share the plate by giving a portion of every week's donations to an organization outside of the church. This part of our congregation's mission is to promote the compassion and responsible thought and action for the world by giving back to the community around us. So when you give this morning, know that you are making an impact not only for the congregation, but also for the wider community through our shared giving. This month, our Share the Plate recipient is the American Red Cross of Chestnut Ridge. The Chestnut Ridge chapter of the American Red Cross is part of the 61-county Greater Pennsylvania region and serves nearly 650,000 people in Armstrong, Fayette, Indiana, and Westmoreland counties. The vast majority of workers for the Red Cross are volunteers who provide humanitarian aid to victims of disaster and hardship. The Red Cross provides monetary aid to victims of disaster from their donation pool. The Red Cross also offers instruction in safety with CPR classes, first aid, swimming safety, and fire safety. Locally, the Disaster Action Team provides assistance to victims of house fires in the form of emergency money, housing assistance, comfort care, and counseling. Follow-up, post-disaster, all provided by volunteers. The DAT is called out by the EMs to every home fire in the county and region. Recently, they assisted members of our UU family who experienced fire in their home. Please give as you are able to the work of this church within and beyond our walls as we share in singing our offertory hymn, number 402.
We accept with gratitude this morning's offering. So today, here we are again together in our sanctuary, all of us, young and old, together, and it is so good to be here, to see your faces, or at least half of them. I want to use this sermon today when we have many of our youth and children in the sanctuary to speak directly to our young people. Adults, you're welcome to come along on this sermon. It might be helpful to you as well. But it's especially for our children and teens, because for many of you, it's been a long time since you've been in the sanctuary. And some of you might be thinking things along the lines of, oh my gosh, why is this taking so long? What is church even for? When can we be done with all this talking? Don't worry, that's normal. Some of the adults think that sometimes too. They just have more years of practice being polite, so they don't say it out loud to me, mostly. But I wanted to talk with you about what church is for, why we sit here for a whole hour, even on the really nice sunny days when you could have been outside. And it's because, as my friend Erica Hewitt likes to say, church is the place where we come to learn more about being human. Now, most of the week, most of you go to school. School is the place where you learn facts. You learn math and science and geography and English, reading and writing. If you've been in school for a little while, you probably know what's 2 plus 2. Anyone? I heard it in the back. 4. It's 4. If you've been there a little longer, you probably know what's 2 times 2. It's also 4. Some of you were very hesitant, but you do know that. You might even know why those are both the same answer, even though the function to get there is different. You might even know what 3 plus 2 is. Do we know 3 plus 2? It's 5. And we know that 3 times 2 is a different number.
10.
It's not 10. What is it? 3 times 2 is 6. Yeah. School gives you facts and functions, and there are tests that check if you've understood what you've learned, and you learn more and more each day. Church is a little different, because what we're teaching here is how to be people. And the way that we do that often is by letting you have the questions and projects that you do together, not because we need you to make a perfect project so we can give you an A or a B or a C, but because learning to work with one another is part of being human. It's part of becoming part of a family and part of a society where we all want to live. So this is a really important thing to know. In school, you have to be listening all the time, because a teacher will check over and over, right? So you don't miss any facts. Church is a different kind of listening space. Part of church is learning to listen to the special voice inside of you that can only come into your mind when you have space to breathe and to think. When you have that feeling sometimes that we call, I'm so bored. But then, if you follow yourself all the way through that bored feeling, out on the other side, there's wondering. Why is the world the way that it is? I sometimes call this hot air balloon listening. And this is a good thing for adults and kids to know about. In church listening, if you imagine a hot air balloon with a big balloon and a basket that you're standing in. And that balloon is your brain. So you're holding on to the ropes so you can keep that hot air balloon on the ground near your teacher in school. Keep it right there where you can hear everything. You can call out the answers to facts. So when I ask, what state do we live in? You can say, what? You could say that, but I would prefer you say, Pennsylvania. You've got that balloon held tight so it won't fly away, even if there's an impulse to be silly. But church listening is like this. In church, you might climb into that hot air balloon basket, and when you hear an interesting idea that catches your mind, that makes you wonder and think, you can let go of those ropes and go flying off into the sky, wondering, what does it really mean to be kind? What do I imagine when I think about hot air balloons and about listening and about flying? I wonder what it would look like if my church would be beautiful in the sky above. I wonder if I believe in God. I wonder about that shade of blue in the stained glass window. It's beautiful. I wonder how they make it. And then, as you figure out what you believe, or as you make a note to yourself that you're going to look up stained glass later on YouTube and find out, maybe the air in your balloon cools and you come back down to earth in your hot air balloon, and then you hear another bit of a sermon or a story and it catches your imagination and sends you wondering again, and off you go into the air with a whole new idea to give you a lift. That's church learning. That's how we listen here. It's wondering, it's imaginative listening. Here in church, we listen and learn not for facts, but for insights. So a sight inside, looking at what we believe inside our own hearts and minds, helping us to understand who we are and how we live and why. This kind of hot air balloon listening can help us make more loving choices and become better friends to those around us. It's why our worship services have all those times when we listen to a bell, or sit in silence, or read poetry, even though those words don't make sense, don't make facts. They sure do give you something to think about and imagine. Those are the moments to let your mind start wandering and wondering, to ask the questions, because the test of what you learned in church doesn't happen in this building. For Unitarian Universalists, church is for wondering and insight and reflection. And when you come to church to learn how to be in stillness and find that voice within, what you're learning that for is for the unexpected moments in life when you will be called to do the work of our faith. The test for learning to be human might happen on a day when you're in school and someone is mean to a friend or an acquaintance. And you have to pay attention to that feeling inside you that says, I am a person who believes all people are important and what is happening is unkind. And I am inspired to care and inspired to act. That's the test. And the test happens on the day when too many things are happening and you get overwhelmed. But instead of yelling and screaming, maybe you've learned how to breathe how to go listen to some music that's meditative, how to pull out a fidget toy, how to get calm again and talk about it with your family or your friends. And the test happens on a day when you look at your backpack charm and it reminds you that you should really say hello to that new kid and you make a new friend. Learning to be human is a test that will happen over and over your whole life through. But church does make it easier to pass. Here we have stories and songs to remind us why we are together, and bells and candles to give us things to look at and hear, and reminders to notice beautiful things and to learn to love them. We are surrounded by friends and family to remind us we are never alone in life and that there are people to help and support you wherever you go. So this today is the lesson. Our faith is one of works, a faith of action. And we learn how and why we want to act here in this space together. May we learn to embrace it and one another. May it be so.
Our closing words come from Patrick Murphy. We believe that many streams join to make a river. The way to wisdom lies in an open ear and heart, that goodness may be pursued for the sake of goodness and not from fear of punishment, that knowing and not knowing are part of the same, and ambiguity is permissible. Please join me now in singing our closing hymn, number 163, The Earth Forever Turning.
That's a different song. We could lay down our swords and shields by the riverside.
Yeah,
Good.
13. Okay, I'm with you. All right.
163 and Dave's got it. Thank you.
Joy we sing, returning to our
invite you to join me in saying together our words to extinguish the chalice flame. We extinguish our chalice flame, but not the light of the truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
As we leave this space, may the blessings of learning go with you. May the love of this community go with you. May the holiness of sacred space be with you until we are together again. Blessed be.
Very nice service. Sound was really good. And
Hi, Curly.
hi, Charles. Yeah.
Well, I thought that Elizabeth was pretty clear, but the other speakers were less clear. And the one who did the children was incomprehensible. I couldn't understand what she said at all.
Mhm.
The woman who read the things I could understand her, but it was a little fuzzy. But in comparison with the sample that we tried with you, ours was at least as good, maybe better.
I thought I don't know, this came across really well to me, but anyhow, the tech host really has a lot of things, yeah, going on. Is the tech host there now? I know he or she is on mute. Um, oh, I think you're doing really well. There's so much to manage. We aren't even up to, I don't feel like I'm even up to this point, but I have a question for the tech host if he or she could answer it. Okay, so maybe they don't have yeah, it would be hard to put the people on Zoom plus the participants there. I'm not sure how that would work, but